Hello, everybody. I am one of your hosts coming live today from Toronto, as I always do. I'm Scott.
And I'm the other host. I'm Andy, coming to you from the United Kingdom.
Good to see you, Andy. Thank you for bearing with our technical situation today. For those of you who see the video, it'll be slightly different because we had problems with some of our equipment, but that's all right. We're going to just soldier on. Um, Welcome to Tea and Timbits, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. We are going to talk about sort of motivation. We're at the beginning of February here, and we thought that we would reflect on how the month of January has been going or how it went. And we both have some perspectives on how it's been going for us individually and thought that that would be a good topic. So we'll talk more about it. But before we do, Andy, do you have a story for us today?
I do, I do. I was thinking that intro was almost as long as the month of January there. So I
Fair.
was, yeah, I know. Uh, so yeah, no, what it was is I had an experience this week that I thought I'd share. It was a thing I've seen a few times in the past, and it would be good to get your perspective on it actually, because it was related to a company that works in, let's say, the manufacturing industry, and they got in touch with me because their sales team were were very much in waves. They were sort of up and down. Their performance wasn't in line with what they were hoping for. It wasn't performing consistently. The management was struggling to figure out what the issue was, and I gave you a bit of a clue at the beginning there, saying it was a manufacturing business, but essentially, what I discovered when I went into the company very quickly was that the salespeople were being encouraged to, let's say, see through their sales successes, and
What does
this
that
meant,
mean?
well, this meant that if they won a contract with a customer, they were then going through to the manufacturing
Oh,
department and
I see. See it all through.
see
I
it all through. So
got it.
they were going through to the manufacturing department. They were then talking through what that customer needed. They were then arranging the logistics for it. They were arranging and sometimes even getting involved with the actual packing of the equipment, and sometimes even delivering it to the customer. And yes, I understand the benefits of, that close customer service, the attention to detail, and things like that. But of course, if the sales team are spending days and weeks overseeing the manufacturing process, then they're not doing sales.
Right.
And so, of course, this was an ongoing discussion that we had there. But do you see anything similar in any of your customers or anything like that that could happen where sales people are taken away from sales tasks?
Yeah, and in fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I think what happened in that case was it was a high performing sales person, business. This person's sort of in a supporting role to sales in a business development capacity, and but still has a quota and sales targets to be responsible to, and has started several initiatives in the past year and has gained sort of internal profile for those highlights. And
Yeah,
then as a result, everybody wants their time and attention and sort of, well, can you get involved in my project, and
I
you're the
see.
right person to help me execute this and whatnot. And then the challenge is they no longer become as available to do their core job and their core responsibilities, which this person was lamenting to me about yesterday. So I think I know exactly that kind of a situation. So I mean, this is kind of turning into a topic, but what was, I mean, I think the advice and the solution here is obvious. You just stop doing those distracting.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, given the nature of their work and the way that they have, of course, had this personal touch with the end customer, and the end customer is so used to now, meeting the sales team and then almost receiving the order from them, it has become a case that you can't just switch that thing off. So you've got to try and
Right.
find
It
a
just
balance
stop
and
it. Yeah.
find a way of transitioning that, helping their sales team to hand that over to the relevant departments and to then hand over the communication and the experience from the customer and really mapping out those procedures and making that clear. Because part of the problem is that there was no, or there is no, actual process or procedures that are written down for
Mm,
each department, and therefore everyone's doing what they want to be doing. They're a successful company, that's fine, but it's, with that inconsistent sales process and the lack of a clear process around it, then it means that it is going to lead to inconsistent sales activity and an
sure.
unstable and unreliable income for the business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as you're talking about that, I'm reflecting on some of our own situations that aren't the
Mhm.
same, but there's a parallel example here where we often need to transition a person, a resource, into a project and pull
Okay.
somebody else off of it because for whatever reason we need that resource that was already assigned to be doing something else, and you absolutely cannot just switch it, right?
No,
So then
true.
it
Yeah.
seems the challenge is you don't want to have two resources doing the same thing and any overlap. But you know, quite honestly, you do need a small period where there is overlap. You need some transition, and
Yes.
what
Yes.
we have found is that it actually happens. The actual transition happens faster than you think it is going to take. And then there's a period where the initial resource just has physical presence in some of the meetings, but the engagement and the activity has been and the accountability has been transferred to the new resource, and then all of a sudden that sort of legacy person excuses themselves and drops off the call and nobody even notices. So there is a balance there, and there's a hesitancy to want to do it because it sounds like you're doubling up, but my observation is that it actually doesn't take as long as you think it does, and it's worth it in the end.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But then this now leads us, I think, quite well into our topic about reflecting and efficiencies and
Yeah, we were
yeah.
chatting as we sort of got ready for the podcast here, and we're sitting on the doorstep of the month of February, and January is now in the rearview mirror. How was the month for you, and how was the month for the people that you were interacting with, Andy?
Yeah, I think January is one of those strange months that can feel very long, as uh,
Yep.
as many people comment on, because I think it starts with very much still that party holiday mindset, and everybody starts at different times. Some people have traditions where straight away in the new year they start and they're straight into it, straight into work, straight back at it. And other people, it can be a couple of weeks into January before they're actually back in the full working mindset. And that, of course, has an impact on their business. It has an impact on their customers. It has an impact on suppliers as well.
Hmm.
And a lot of the companies that I work with are in different countries. They have different cultures. They have different holiday plans and so on. And so it's a very odd month for me, in that I need to juggle some of those cultures, still get involved with people, and still try and help them to keep on track and keep focused, but still allowing them to maintain their traditions, their processes, that relate to the important things for their employees, their families, and so on, but keeping the momentum going, because if you lose the month of January, you've lost a third of the the
Yeah.
first quarter, and getting that momentum up in February can be very, very difficult if you haven't done so from the early part of January.
Right. So, I mean, you said something there that I hadn't really thought about, which I thought was pretty cool. It is about the fact that different people start the month at different times and they come into it with different expectations that are not aligned with everybody else. That
Oh,
is,
that's right. Yeah.
a lot of people are like, oh my God, here I go. I have to get this going and I'm just going to ease my way in. And but I kind of reluctantly. And other people are like, all right, it's the new year. Let's get going. I'm going to kill this thing. 2024 is going to be the best year ever. And
Exactly.
there's a
Exactly.
and sometimes those energies align and it works out harmoniously, and oftentimes it doesn't.
Mhm.
I mean, I have found that there has been struggle with that alignment of energy. I think that you just unlocked a sort of realization for me, and there's a struggle there in how do you uh, stay productive. That's what it comes down to, is that there's a drop in productivity, at least one that I've seen. And there's different energies and there's different expectations. And I mean, I have for me, it all comes back to relying on routine. I was going to use the word process, but I think it's more
I
about
know. Yeah,
there
it is.
are processes, but I actually think you need to be a little bit more flexible with the way that your processes unfold. To your point, I think, tell me what you think, is that it's about the routine. Make sure that you're not giving yourself an excuse to go, oh well, maybe we'll try again next week. No, you got to get back into saying on Mondays I do this, at 3 o'clock I do that. I have my weekly cadence calls. I put my gym shoes on if that's what I'm trying to do. What do you think about that?
No, I think January is, first of all, the best month to start building those routines, because they, even if you had them well established before, they will have dropped off in the latter part of December for almost everybody. And then as you move into January and you start again, whatever your processes are, whether you have a process, whether you have it documented or not, it doesn't matter. But you build those routines. What do I need to do? Okay, when should I be getting up? And then doing it consistently.
Yeah.
And it's the same with anything. If you can be consistent with it, and the hardest thing, when you're coming out in off the holidays there, is to get into a routine that feels productive, that gives results, that gets you back into the working mindset, but still allows for that flexibility and that slow transition from the holidays into the new year
So
with the right energy and the right motivation. So I'm completely aligned with you about those routines. But I think as well, because in order to establish those routines, you need to maybe document a process to to
yeah,
build
yeah.
that.
So I think this is all well and good, but this is all information I wish we'd thought about on January the 1st or December the 31st, right? But here we are in February and it's too late to do anything about it, but we have to deal with the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I'm having this realization even now as we talk, that there's a few things that I'm going to go change or
Mhm.
try and work on immediately, like in the calls that I have this afternoon.
Yeah.
And that I think what I'm gonna try is being very open about the fact that this situation still exists. We're coming out of
Yeah.
the month of
Yeah, no,
January.
that's true.
We want to reestablish routine, and there are a few projects, clients, conversations that just have not had the production that I was wanting. And I think I'm going to try telling the other person that I'm looking for a reestablishment of routine. And it might even be helpful to put some process and structure and routine around what would have otherwise perhaps been a slightly more casual engagement, just until we know that we don't need those routines formalized anymore again.
Yeah.
Am I making any sense?
No, to me, yes. To our listeners, who knows?
Like I have a particular client conversation that I'm trying to advance, and we've just been avoiding getting back in touch with each other and whatnot. And I think we just need to say, listen, we need to be talking regularly again. We fell off of that routine. Let's do it until we know that we just have the momentum that we've lost. And the other person may not be ready for that, and I'll have to be prepared to say, okay, it was just a suggestion. But my guess is they'll respond to that.
Yeah, but I genuinely believe that it doesn't matter. I mean, as you said, it would be good to think about these things, towards the end of last year, as you're moving into this year, at the start of this year. But it doesn't really matter if
Yeah.
if you identify that there's a gap, there's a falling down, there's some change that needs to happen. The So long as you act on that and embrace that and then try and integrate that into or create a routine that is valuable and going to add some value, then that's the key, isn't it? So if you're doing it now at the, 7th of February, or you're doing it later on in the year, when you figure it out, then it doesn't really matter, but it matters that you do it. And if you can build those routines, then getting them in place helps you, helps your team, helps your colleagues, helps your customers. Everyone feels more comfortable when there is a structure around it. There's a clear goal, there's a clear process
Yeah.
that people are working through.
Because we've reflected on January as sort of the anchor for this situation, but I think obviously this can happen at any time of year and in different situations. So hopefully for those listening, they're not trying to remember these tips come next January, but there are other places and moments in the year that this is helpful advice for. So great chat. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that one.
Thank you very much, Scott, and hopefully we'll get the technical issues sorted out for next week.
I hope so. So if you want to find us, please go to tandtimbits.com. You can find all the episodes there. We would appreciate a like, a follow wherever you get your podcasts. It means a lot to us. And if you have any feedback, send it in. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.